Welcome to the REI Foundation podcast, where we cover all the steps and strategies to make your real estate dreams a reality. Now your hosts, Jason and Peely.
Well, hello again, and welcome to another edition of the Real Estate Investing Foundation podcast with Jason and Peely. Today is just Jason, as Peely is out there making it happen. And we're really excited for today's show. We welcome Marc Rutzen to the show. Welcome, Marc.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So a little bit more about Marc. Marc Rutzen is co-founder and CEO at Enodo, Inc. And Enodo's machine learning platform automatically analyzes multifamily investments, and you can use it instantly to calculate the ROI, which is return on investment, on value-add amenities, instantly survey rent comps, and provide detailed occupancy and operating expense benchmarks for any multifamily investments in any market. Wow. So this is a really awesome platform. We're really excited about it because we really love the multifamily space. So, Marc, thanks so much for coming on the show. Tell us a little bit, one, how you got started with real estate, and then we can jump in from there.
Yeah, absolutely. So I got started in real estate development and consulting in 2011, which was an awesome time to get into real estate. Things were kind of bottomed out at that point, right? And deals were very difficult to make happen. So being in development, I had to get really creative to make deals happen. I ended up doing, federally qualified health centers, affordable housing, one master plan development that was, public-private partnership with the city of Moline. So these were things that, there's obviously public funding and government funding going into them, so I could still make deals happen. But then from there moved on to consulting and brokerage. And through it all, I kind of saw how inefficient everything works in the real estate industry. Like to get anything done takes so long, and there's so many transfers of documents from PDF to Excel, and then copying and pasting. And you're doing so much formatting before you get to any real analysis, that I figured, some of the stuff I was doing in consulting with like regression analysis and, different market analysis would be better served, or would better serve people if we could build a platform that would help them do it on their own and cut out a lot of the monotonous day-to-day tasks of real estate. And so we built Enodo to kind of serve that market.
It's really interesting. A lot of people will, and you see some of the greatest ideas come out of just inefficiencies, right? But a lot of people just stop with that. Like, oh, this drives me crazy. I have to, go through this site or call this person to get this amount of numbers.
Right.
Look at this platform to try and find this. Then I have to go back and I have to basically calculate all these numbers together and try and put them together in one spreadsheet. But you jumped out and started going. So with your consultant background, did you have the knowledge to build this platform, or how did you start the process?
Yeah, so I worked in real estate for 5 years before getting into tech. And what I started doing, actually, interestingly enough, I went to real estate people that I knew worked really inefficiently, stuff like affordable housing, that there's just so much documentation and processing you have to do. And I actually, I had a little bit of skill in Photoshop and Adobe Illustrator and some design ability. So I designed interfaces for a tool that would help these people, for several tools that would help these people operate a little bit more efficiently, and then pitch them on paying me to build it. And I would hire a programmer to actually build the thing and make it a reality. And to my surprise, it actually worked. And I ended up learning a lot about technology and development in the process. And that ultimately helped me springboard. So I had the real estate knowledge and market analysis knowledge from my work in real estate consulting, and then consulting on these tech projects, I had the development expertise. And so that really set me up well to be able to launch Enodo.
Wow. And so Enodo, it offers so many unique aspects that you can really just put into your multifamily analysis. How did you hone in on what exactly you want to offer with the platform, and what do you see is the best use of Enodo?
Yeah, so the core value prop that we started with is that, in all analysis that you do, there's really no way to objectively quantify the drivers of real estate value. If you think about it, the demographics, the 1, 3, and 5 mile radii that you see at the back of the OM that kind of is there as just like support. what does that really tell you? What does it tell you that there in a 3-mile radius there's 50,000 millennials? What does that mean? How much rent does that translate to for your project? And looking at things like value add deals. If I do the granite countertops, the hardwood floors, the rooftop deck, what is that actually going to do? What's my rent lift going to be before I actually spend the money on those improvements? And so that was the key thing that we started with, was quantifying the drivers of real estate value. And specifically, we honed in on value add because that was the easiest thing to wrap your head around. If I do granite countertops, what am I going to get in rent? And so we built an algorithm that holds everything else constant but one amenity at a time. And this was kind of our MVP product at the time. We started 2016 building this thing, and holds everything else constant but one amenity, and then tells you the rent lift you're going to get from that individual amenity. And from there, we built that. Then we talked with our customers. We got feedback. We heard what pain points they had, what they needed. We listened, and then we built a suite of different tools that help you do different aspects of the underwriting process very, very quickly using machine learning and automation.
So what were some of the other additions beyond the value add amenity, just one constant, or leaving everything constant and changing one to see the result? What did you add on to Enodo past there?
Yeah, so the first thing that we added was obviously everyone goes back to comps at the end of the day, but one of the difficult things that owners kind of battle with brokers over is, what is a comp? What constitutes a good comp, right? So we came up with a way to objectively say, these are the variables that drive comparability in this market. Here's the presence in each of these properties, and here's the percent similarity based on those different variables. So you can actually say objectively, this is a comp or this is not a comp. And that really helps when you have those conversations. Oh yeah, I think this is a comp and you think it's not a comp. Well, we're just going to fight about it. But really, Enodo can be the bad guy. And you can say, hey, Enodo says it's not a comp. You're wrong. I win this one. Right? So that was one of the first ones. Then we added, we saw people had a huge need for their rent roll parsing and T12 mapping, just like analysts in the underwriting process. You think about a Yardi rent roll with cost codes broken out. It's really difficult to get that into Excel. You got a PDF that you get from a seller. To get it into Excel in a format that's workable, that you can do analysis on, I mean, it could take an hour sometimes if it's very detailed for a big property. So we built a parser that does that automatically, analyzes your lease expirations and all that, and then drops it into Excel for you, as well as a T12 mapper that will map each line item to your chart of accounts and then compare them to, and that's where you get the operating expense prediction, compare them to market benchmarks and see if the T12 that you got from the seller is in line with the market in terms of what they're spending, and where you could potentially squeeze operational efficiencies out of the property. So that's kind of the quick synopsis of the core tools we've got at this point.
So if I'm a customer, is there a size property where it starts to be beneficial, or does it work from 5 units up all the way to 400 units? Where is my threshold?
It actually works from 1 unit up to 5,000 plus units, sprawling garden developments in the middle of nowhere, right? This will cover any property in any market, anything from single family rental on up. And we actually, we're working with a couple groups nationwide that have pretty massive single family housing portfolios, and they're actually paying us just to run our predictions over each one of their properties and tell them how they should price their single family rental. Like that's something we didn't even expect. They came to us, but of course we're going to work with them. I mean, that's a really interesting use case. So yeah, there's not a limit. As long as it's a rental, there's not a limit on the size of the property that can be analyzed with the platform.
So if I'm a user of the platform, what information do I need to have available to get started?
Yeah, so the way the platform works, if we have the property in our database already, and we cover about 63 to 65% of all multifamily in the country. This is nationwide, is already in our database. If it's already in the database, you just type an address, and then you'll start with the information we got from public records on the property. So you wouldn't need anything in that case. If you don't have information, or if we don't have information, I should say, you could just upload your rent roll in T12, and you'll instantly have your rent survey done on comps. You'll have your operating expense benchmarks, and you'll have your predictions of what your rent should be based on your property type, size, year built, amenities package, and the market that you're in.
It's amazing. And if you're looking from a return on investment standpoint, do you factor in with, let's say, value-add amenities time frame? Does the quote-unquote owner of the property or myself, I'm buying a property, have to factor in what my hold period looks like? Or do you give us a return on investment set over a certain amount of period of time?
We do have in our export, we've got a waterfall template, so you can do a full, syndicated private equity deal. What we're working on, one of the things that we got feedback on is that, people want the cost of amenities too, not just the rent lift. They want to benchmark the cost. And so we're working on a system right now. This is still in R&D, but what it will enable people to do is just put in their costs for amenities and then get the ROI and, space that out over the course of the investment. The reason that's powerful is you get enough people doing that, then all of a sudden you do have cost benchmarks and you do have ROI benchmarks in each different market. And right now we've got several hundred users on the platform. We're super excited to bring this into the platform and let people start entering their costs, calculating that ROI, and then really be able to dynamically benchmark anywhere in the country for ROI on different amenities.
I understand. So on this point, if I'm going to quote unquote add, let's say, I don't know, I'm going to add closed-in fencing and trying to get another $25 for that point, I would put in what my cost to build would be for that, or would Enodo give us an estimated cost to build and a return of what I can see for the rent bumps? Which direction do I need to go there?
Yeah, initially you're going to put your cost in, and then over time it will tell you what the cost should be. Amazing.
That's going to be sweet. That's going to be great. Very cool. Very cool. Where is so that's one direction you're going with Enodo. What are some other features that you're looking to implement over the next 1, 2, 3 years?
Yeah, I think the biggest things, right now we have an automated valuation model for multifamily that works across the country. Now, I think this is the broadest covering AVM of any out there, and I actually don't know of one that covers multifamily nationwide like this. It's kind of like this estimate for multifamily, and I think that it's already starting to have a pretty big impact with lenders, but I think we're going to get many more lenders on board because it basically enables them to use Enodo as the Quicken loans, or to become the Quicken loans for multifamily, right?
Wow.
You can just submit your documents, and then we know if the value of that property is in line with the market or not, and we know exactly what can be lent on it. You can size the loan pretty easily if you know the value of assets. So that's one huge one. The other is this undervalued property identification algorithm. We've built, because we have this database nationwide, we've built a way to identify the worst property on the best block, right? So it's the traditional, like, location is everything, and always buy the worst house on the best block. That's the mantra. We found a way to do that algorithmically for multifamily.
Wow.
We take the property variables that are driving rents down and the market variables that are driving rents up. Simple as that. And then divide into the market score, the property score. So you basically get a overall investment ability score, or investment suitability score, I should say. And that, we plan to release beginning of next year for all of our users. I think that's going to be huge.
That's amazing. And so a question that follows with that, so when that does release, I would basically pick a market, and for that point, maybe pick a sub-market within that. So Louisville, maybe I pick the south side of Louisville, and with the platform, I'd be able to identify through your platform what would be the worst property in the best area of that sub-market. Is that one correct?
Exactly. And the worst properties would have, we're debating whether we do the worst properties with a very low score or a very high score. because it's high on investment potential, low on current, in quality or product market fit. But either way, yeah, that's the concept, is that you're finding the property that is really not suiting the market with its amenities, with its rents, with its operations, and then you have an opportunity to really add value and bring it to product market fit.
And these would not be listed properties. So these would be properties that are just out there showing the rent and looking for potential tenants. And so it would give the investor the opportunity to source that property and hopefully find a potential deal. Is that correct?
Exactly. And we'd love to bring owner contact info into that too. Now that's a little bit more involved because there are some paid sources for that. We got to strike deals with them, but we want to get you to the point where you're like, this is a great deal, and then potentially help you actually call the owner and then strike that deal and move to closing.
Well, sign me up. That'd be sweet. That's ridiculous. Beyond just all the value add opportunities here that you see with just the existing platform. That's a win-win on all sides. Give me anything else I've missed on Enodo. There's so much we can dive into here, but I think really from a user perspective, this would be an awesome opportunity for the listeners to really check it out in one with their existing portfolio, just to test it out to see what they're doing, and maybe if they're not maximizing on certain areas where they could maximize on, and two, for potential new opportunities. So really, really impressed with this. What else are we missing from the Enodo platform?
Well, there's so probably the key things here are, we're helping you optimally price by unit type, and we're helping you optimally price by operating expense line item. So when you load your rent roll in, you have your market and your in-place rent, and Enodo's rent will appear next to that, and it'll basically tell you, hey, with this unit type, you're actually underpriced a little bit, and with this one, you're overpriced a little bit. So if you adjust slightly, you're going to optimize your pricing, you're going to reduce time on the market, and you're going to increase the rent you can generate. But on the OPEX side, it's going to tell you, hey, your contract services line item is way too high for this market. Renegotiate some of those contracts. Or, you're spending way too much in R&M compared to similar properties, or your utilities are off the charts. Bring that back in line based on similar assets in the same market. I think that's really valuable for people because they're always trying to, the whole process of analysis is really comparison. You're trying to compare yourself to other properties in the market and see if you're reasonable. And we help you use machine learning to do that process almost completely automatically. And there's a lot of valuable insight in doing that.
You hit on a really great point, right? So you can really hit a lot of home runs by improving the NOI on properties through forced appreciation, but you can also get crushed by a lot of the little expenses, especially if you're managing yourself, right, that you don't even realize are happening. And so if you have a landscape contract or a boiler tech contract, that's a year contract, and you just keep letting it roll over next year, and maybe they have nominal increases in there, and you don't realize that you're actually 10% higher than what the market bears for that service. Right. You've just gotten comfortable. Well, that's money that you're just losing from the bottom line that can be easily replaced. So that's a great point. Really appreciate that. So for people that are listening, is there a monthly cost? How does it work from a cost perspective?
Yeah, so we've got a monthly cost for the business plan. The top tier is $500 a month. The middle tier, and this is all on our website. You can go to enodoinc.com/pricing, and you can see all of the different features and functionality with each different tier. But the middle tier is $300 a month, and the bottom tier is $100 a month. But I am happy to, for listeners to this, and I'm happy to give you guys a discount code. I would discount the 500, which has all the functionality, all the features, and all the stuff we've got in R&D. I'd be happy to offer that at the middle price tier of $300 a month, just because, we want to, thank you guys for inviting us to speak on the show and give that opportunity to listeners to get it at a discount.
That's incredible. Thank you, Marc. That's really awesome. So they can go to www.enodoinc.com. Marc Rutzen we have on the show today. Marc, we really appreciate it. Is there another way that they should connect with you if they have some more questions about the platform?
Yeah, if you're on the site, I mean, we're entrepreneurs here, right? So if you're on the site and it happens to be 1 a.m. and you're like, you have a question about something, or you're on the platform and you have a question about something, shoot me a message. There's a message bot in the lower right corner of our website and our interface. And if you shoot me a message, I'll probably respond at like 2 a.m. and let you know how to do what you're looking to do, just because we don't sleep here. We just we help customers grow. We answer questions. That's what we do.
Good. Well, we won't hold you to that, but we appreciate that. We know the entrepreneurial side of all hands on, but this is really impressive. We're really excited to see how we can put this together with the properties we are always working on. And for this, Marc, thank you so much for coming on the show today. We really, really, really appreciate your time. So Marc Rutzen, Enodo Inc., check it out. I really think this could be really valuable to anybody out there and you heard it from, it's single families up to 5,000 units. So you will be in there. If you're looking to have rentals, cash flowing properties, this is something that you want to check out and see how you can implement it with your business. Marc, thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks so much for having me.
This is Jason with the Real Estate Investing Foundation podcast. Thank you again to all for the listeners out there, and have a great day. Bye now.
Thanks for tuning into the REI Foundation podcast. Check back next time for more awesome tips and strategies to launch your new you in real estate.